It was October 1944. The war in Europe was supposed to be ending. After D-Day, the Allies had stormed through France, liberated Paris, and pushed the Germans back toward their borders. But as autumn fell, one brutal truth came into focus. Victory was still far away. In the north, across the flooded fields and bitter winds of the Netherlands, a forgotten battle was about to decide the fate of Europe. It would be called the Battle of the Scheldt. And though few remember its name, it changed the course of World War II. The story begins with a problem. By late September 1944, the Allies had captured the Belgian city of Antwerp, one of the largest ports in Europe. It was the perfect entry point for fuel, food, and weapons the Allied armies desperately needed. But there was a catch. Antwerp's port was useless until ships could safely reach it. And the Scheldt Estuary, the 50-mile waterway leading to the North Sea, was still controlled by the Germans. They held strong defensive positions along the banks and on nearby islands. The estuary was filled with mines, gun batteries, and flooded terrain. Without the Scheldt, the Allies couldn't bring supplies in. And without supplies, they couldn't move forward. The fate of the entire Allied advance rested on one forgotten strip of land. While most of the world was focused on General Patton's dramatic push through France and the failed Operation Market Garden Canadian, British and Polish forces were given a near-impossible task: clear the Scheldt inch by inch in some of the worst terrain imaginable. The fighting began in early October 1944. The weather was cold and wet. The land was flat, covered in canals, dikes, and flooded fields. German troops had opened the sea barriers, turning the region into a watery hell. It was a landscape where tanks couldn't move, and soldiers had to fight waist-deep in icy water. The 1st Canadian Army, under General Harry Crerar, took the lead. But it wasn't just Canadians. They were joined by British commandos, Polish armored units, and Dutch resistance fighters who knew the land better than anyone. Their mission: clear the Scheldt Estuary and open Antwerp to the sea. For the soldiers on the ground, it was a nightmare. Take cadet, it the Battle of Mud. Every step forward meant wading through flooded fields under artillery fire. Germans hid in farmhouses and along dikes, waiting to ambush Allied troops as they tried to cross open water. At Breskin's Pocket, Canadian soldiers faced machine guns and snipers hidden in the reeds. At Waynesdrag, fierce fighting raged for days, as both sides struggled for control of the high ground that overlooked the approaches to South Beveland. The weather grew worse. Rain poured constantly. Uniforms froze overnight. Men fought knee-deep in mud, dragging themselves forward through shell holes filled with water. It was a battle without glory. No grand headlines, no cinematic charges, just exhaustion, courage, and loss. One Canadian officer later said, "You couldn't tell where the land ended and the sea began. You just kept moving forward because stopping meant dying." Despite the misery, the Canadians pressed on. Slowly, painfully, they cleared the southern bank of the Scheldt. Then came the hardest part: the assault on the island of Walcheren, the key to the entire estuary. Walcheren was heavily fortified, surrounded by seawalls and protected by German artillery batteries that dominated the channel. A frontal assault was suicide, so the Allies came up with a desperate plan. They would flood the island. On October 3, 1944, Royal Air Force bombers attacked the dikes around Walcheren, breaking them open and letting the North Sea pour in. Towns, fields, and trenches disappeared underwater. Thousands of German defenders were trapped on small patches of land surrounded by seawater. Then, on November 1, 1944, British commandos and Canadian troops launched amphibious assaults on the island, landing from the sea under heavy fire. The air was thick with smoke and rain. Landing craft hit mines. Men waded through freezing water to reach the dikes, climbing the steep walls with ropes, while machine gun fire ripped across the waves. One eyewitness recalled, "You couldn't see 10 feet in front of you, just water, fire, and the cries of men trying to reach land." By November 8th, after brutal house-to-house fighting, the island was finally secured. The Battle of the Scheldt was over. But victory came at a terrible cost. More than 12,000 Allied soldiers were killed, wounded, or missing. Most of them Canadians. Thousands of Germans also died, many drowning as the island flooded. And yet, their sacrifice achieved what seemed impossible. The Scheldt was clear. Antwerp was finally open to Allied ships. Weeks convoys began unloading vital supplies, food, ammunition, fuel, all of it flowing straight to the front lines. Without those supplies, the Allies could not have launched the final offensives that ended the war. Historians later agreed. The Battle of the Scheldt didn't make headlines, but it made victory possible. While Hollywood remembered Normandy, Arnhem, and the Battle of the Bulge, the men who fought in the flooded fields of the Netherlands faded into history. They weren't fighting for glory. They were fighting so others could keep fighting, so the war could finally end. In 2019, a Dutch historian wrote, "If D-Day was the beginning of the end, then the Scheldt was the road to it." Today, the fields where they fought are peaceful again. Quiet farmland and small Dutch towns. But beneath that soil lie the stories of men who refused to give up, who fought in mud and water for a world they might never see. Their names aren't famous. Their battle isn't taught in schools. But the freedom that followed owes as much to them as to anyone who landed on the beaches of Normandy. This was the forgotten battle that changed World War II.